Greece, putting it onto Macedonia, and then using that conquest, using the Greek forces, which are the only qualified fighting troops in the world at that time, and using that thing to carve up the world between an Eastern Persian Empire and a Western Persian Empire, or a Western Empire based on what was called the oligarchical Persian model. The same philosophy that Great Britain or the United Nations organization, or the people behind the Carter administration, or the kooks down in the crypt of the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York, the same kind of kookery. Cults, oligarchical models, we mustn't have too much technology, science is a threat, back to the simple life, small is beautiful, let's have a bigger empire. The same kind of kookery. It was in this setting that the work of Plato and the conspiratorial organization known as the Academy of Athens developed. And at the point that Philip of Macedon, or Philip the Unspeakable, as we speak of him privately, was about, with his homosexual generals, to take them out of the ways of pederasty for a moment, and to lead the forces already based in Asia Minor down to accomplish this great project, the creation of two Persian empires that is a one-world arrangement of two empires, two regionalizations. At that point, Philip was assassinated. And in the ensuing affray, Alexander the Great, a protege of the Academy of Athens, advised by them, took over, consolidated his position, and led these pederastic generals who never improved their morality. They were never positive forces for humanity, and led them to destroy the Persian Empire. And during the brief period of his remaining life, to set into motion the greatest city-building project, the greatest project of human development mankind has ever seen in terms of the population and the rate of development involved. Building cities everywhere. There were Alexander cities all over the world, and more planned. Great trade development, great cultural development. Then Aristotelizations poisoned Alexander. And the pederastic sodomy-performing generals took over again and destroyed most of the world. And that great, hideous obscenity called the Roman Republic and the Roman Empire took over and plunged humanity in the course of existence into a dark age, a genocidal dark age of famine, relieved by cannibalism, epidemic, and homicidal social chaos. And out of this process, the Neoplatonics managed to save civilization, which, such as it is, we have today. We're about to lose. Now, we must look at the world today, not in terms of which good countries as objective entities have the right presidents and ruling parties, and do they represent the majority, and can they run the world, and are we safe? It ain't going to work that way. It cannot. The people are ignorant, including the people of the United States. They may be educated, literate, but they're morally and intellectually ignorant and miseducated. This people of the United States is, in terms of its present orientation, its behavior like sheep, is morally unfit to survive. It may have the potentials to become morally fit to survive, but in terms of its behavior, its political behavior, what it tolerates from the press, what it tolerates from the media, what it tolerates in making homosexuality a political cause, and that it tolerates drugs. This people, in terms of its practice, has reached the point that in terms of that practice is morally unfit to survive. So don't tell me what candidate the people like. Their opinion has no weight with me. The question is, do the people have the ability to overcome such stupidity and to manifest those better qualities which lie within them, waiting to be evoked, and can I help evoke them? Don't tell me about France. Don't tell me about Mexico. Don't tell me about movements in Africa or Asia or any place else. I know them all. And I've measured them and found them wanting. Today, what is required is an implementation of the same principle exemplified by the Alexander project of the Academy of Athens. What is necessary is not to assemble a majority of people for the right cause. That would be desirable, but you're not going to make that majority that easily. The majority of people are either evil or they are simply corrupted like sheep, and they will not respond on that basis. The only way you're going to move the world is to move it. Just as Alexander moved armies which were full of sodomy and kept them too busy to become pederastic at the moment. Engaged them in battles which they would not have conceived and which they did not want to fight, but the very force of motion compelled them to do that. And so by keeping the forces in the correct motion, even though the force's nature would prevent them from doing good, evil was compelled to do good because it was so moved to do against its will. And that's the way we're going to move this world, on momentum. Momentum around a leadership which is self-consciously understands how to do that. That's why I must become President of the United States. Now, I do not propose to make the United States an empire. I am not an ambitious person. I am merely hubristic. And there is a distinction. I propose that by taking the presidency over the next 9 years or 8 years in office, that in the presidency I shall lead the world. I shall take nations and heads of state, unwilling instruments, and I shall compel them to do good by forcing them to move in the direction where I know how to use the power of the United States to force them to move. We are going, for example, I'm going to do what Roosevelt promised to do in 1940-42. What Franklin Delano Roosevelt, of all people, promised to do, I'm going to do it. He said, and prohibition. No, put the drug interest in jail, among other things. Now, Roosevelt promised to Churchill at the Atlantic meeting and the Casablanca meeting, he said, no more will the United States fight world wars to save the British Empire in any shape or guise. No more will the United States tolerate the British system, whether colonial or neo-colonial. No more will the United States tolerate the economics of Adam Smith in any part of the world. We are going to take this aching, poor, hungry world and we're going to transform it with American methods. We're going to transform it by export and development of high technology. We're going to have Manhattan projects and NASA projects and every dirigist federally directed scientific Christ program that we deem necessary. You know, some people talk about how many nuclear plants can you build. I understand American methods. If I want to build 10,000 nuclear plants by the year 2000, we'll do it. It can be done. If we putter along the way we'd like to do it, it won't happen. You want to have 50 or 100 nuclear starts a year, we can do it. Just take the table of requirements. We need how many steel plants, how many of this, build them all, right now. If we have to melt down the neon signs on the whorehouses to do it.